Hi guys, it's Mook again. It may not look like it, but it is a stinking hot day. It has alternated between rainy, crappy, and just scorching. Well, not scorching, it's more like steaming hot. Yeah, it rains on 98-degree pavement, and then it just... Okay, so anyway. Today I am going to work on building a base for my anvil. I've got a 2x6, 12 feet long. Got some threaded rod. The 2x6s are going to be the legs. The threaded rod is what's going to go through to hold the legs onto the cross piece underneath, which is going to be made up of parts of this old sandbox I made years ago and my kids have outgrown. This is pressure treated 4x6, I think. I'm going to cut out two pieces of this and double them up. So that's the first step. I don't have a chainsaw or anything easier to use than that, so I'm going to use this buck saw I made several years ago out of some scraps of wood and $5 saw blade I got at Lowe's. As expected, it started to rain again. Oh! And just in time for my neighbor's sprinklers to come on. What about that? Okay, I've got the two pieces ganged together. I'm going to drill through them to bolt these two together before I even start putting any legs on them. Wanted to inject a little history lesson here. This brace belonged to my father. He grew up in rural Mississippi, and with the money that he made in the summers from picking cotton, he bought this when he was just a boy, really. And he's actually told me that he had no idea what he was going to do with it, but it looked really cool and he wanted it, so that's what he spent his cotton picking money on. Okay, one thing I wanted to point out. When I was getting ready, when I was getting my materials list ready to make this thing, I didn't know exactly how thick that part of the assembly was going to be, so instead of buying a bunch of carriage bolts, 6 inches, 8 inches, 10 inches long, what I did was I bought this 6-foot piece of threaded rod, which is basically a long bolt without a head on it. I've measured the length of how wide those two ganged pieces of wood are, added a little bit, and I'm going to hacksaw it right here. Now this is an interesting thing you might want to pay attention to, is that when you hacksaw through this, you're going to deform these threads. So you put a nut on either side of the cut, so that once those threads get deformed, you back this nut over that deformity, and it turns them, it aligns them back to where they're supposed to be. If you don't do that, you're going to have to file and do a bunch of mess to get a nut to go on the end there. So this is the easy way to do it. The appropriate height for the surface of the anvil should be right about the level of my knuckles as I stand up. This is a little bit too high. Okay, I've got these two beams bolted together. Now I'm going to take these legs, bolt them to the sides, like so. Then I'll run a cross piece. I'll mortise it in right here. Run a cross piece under the end of this for added weight support. I'll cut this piece out. I'll cut notches out here. Then I'll rest this piece in there, right underneath. The load transferred from the beams to the cross piece will be transferred directly into the wood of the legs on down to the ground. Now, these nails are not actually going to be weight bearing. All they're doing is keeping this piece of wood in place. The weight will go from the beam to this piece, through this interface, down to the ground. Okay, now comes the moment of truth. Let's see if this will hold this. If this collapses and breaks my foot, I promise I'll still put it on YouTube. Alright. With the right height. Maybe a ½ inch high, but I'll use it for a little bit to see how it feels at this height. Ooh, that's good. It bounced. Last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drive some nails in here, kind of secure this, keep it from skittering around. My first blacksmithing project. Right now, all I've got to hold a workpiece is channel locks. And that, I don't think that's going to work too well. I'm going to try to turn this piece of rebar into a pair of smithing tongs. No idea if it's going to work or not, but you guys will get to see the results of that process. Thanks for watching.